Hey everybody, Karen from Master Spirit Guides. I hope you're doing well today. So we are going to be exploring, that's Lucy. Lucy's here as usual. We are going to be exploring a little bit about what I have learned from a financial analyst about the current global conflict. Okay. But before I say that, I want to just mention, before we go into the details about that, the reason I'm doing this, and we are going to ask the lead team, all right, is I am getting clearer and clearer about, at least for my current, because stuff changes all the time, I'm getting really clear right now of the purpose of my facilitating these conversations. And partly because of my need for what I'm going to explain to you, and because it's helping me remain calm, let's just say. So I'm getting clear that my role right now, and this may be something you appreciate or you don't appreciate, I'm not sure, is that we talk about and ask the lead team about situations going on in the world that is helping us transition from where we are now to where we are going in the future. All right, which many of us believe is a very positive future. But in order for us to get there, right, we have this transition we have to go through. My need personally, and maybe even spiritually, is that I understand it to a degree that helps me then say, when I see it, I go, oh, okay, I see what's going on. And it doesn't trigger me at all when I understand something. What I'm finding, and this has probably been true my entire life, I don't know if this is true for you, but when you don't understand something is probably when you feel anxiety or when you feel things are out of control and then you have fear, right? So I'm just feeling a very strong pull to look at current things going on, again, that is helping us transition in a spiritual way from today to the future. All right. But I'm doing it in a way that is helping us form the understanding, not making us just talk about what is. Like, my point is not to stay in the situation. My point is that, meaning like we don't keep our focus in the situation. My point is to discuss these things so that you can go, oh, I didn't realize that. So now I know where to put my energy. All right. I don't need to put my energy here because now I have a different understanding of things. Now, just because I have a different understanding and I bring it here to you doesn't mean it's going to help you have a different understanding. I'm not sure. We're going to feel this out as we go. But that's why I'm having some conversations about current events, but not just talking about what is. We're going to go deeper. All right. And I'm kind of been doing a lot of digging behind the scenes on things, pulling a lot of different transcripts from videos, especially when we have this topic for today about what is really going on with the global conflict and power shifting. All right. And I think we're obviously entertainment purposes only, and this is all allegedly. And this is just an interesting idea. I have to say, when I heard this information from this particular person who I will talk about, it helped me chill big time because it helped me understand. I'm like, oh, okay. Because again, then you can decide where it's worth sending your energy. Because you might realize that if this is true, and you can dig into it a little bit more, and we will be asking the lead team, if the things we're talking about is true, then maybe writing to your representatives is a waste of energy. Or, I know, don't get mad, but showing up for protests might be a waste of energy, but it might not, okay? So, but that's my point is having these conversations to know where to direct our energy, basically. All right. And to keep us out of fear. Okay. So that being said, let's go ahead. I've got quite a bit of a story to tell about this. And then we've got 30 questions for the lead team collective. All right. So that is made up of all of our spirit guides here in the community. So we're going to ask them, is what this person by the name of Simon Dixon. I don't know if you guys have ever heard him. He just popped up. I've listened to 2 long videos of his so far, and they really resonated with me. Not all of it, but his authenticity seems very real. I can't prove that for sure. And in those conversations, he's not really asking for anything. He's just wanting to educate. So I do know that he is a Bitcoin. His goal is helping people understand how to develop their own sovereignty, which is something I am just, for the first time in my life, understanding and actually starting to feel. And we'll start talking about that going forward. Okay, so I'm just going to read without interrupting, okay? Because I know that can be challenging. So I'm just going to read what I have written here from his transcript, okay? So, and I always will link the video that I'm referring to below. Okay, Simon Dixon is a financial analyst explaining what he believes is really driving the current global conflict and power shifts. The conflict is not about countries like the one that we're in right now, or the country of I, or the US fighting each other. It's not about that. Okay? This is according to him. The real conflict is between 2 power systems competing for control. And it's actually 3 power systems, but one of them, which is tech, kind of goes into both of them. One side profits from war and ongoing instability. That's the military-industrial complex around the world. Okay. The other side profits from financial systems and rebuilding economies. He describes 3 main power structures shaping the world: a financial system that controls money, markets, and governments. The financial system controls governments. And a military system that profits from war and defense spending, again, globally. A technology system globally, but a lot of our folks are in the United States, that controls information, surveillance, and communication. These systems work together, but also compete for dominance. So these systems work together, finances, military, and technology, but are competing for dominance. They are competing for dominance. Control comes from influencing governments, corporations, and global resources. The world has been shifting away from one dominant power into multiple power centers. This means different regions are gaining influence instead of one global leader. So different regions, so Middle East, West, East, are gaining influence instead of one global leader, which maybe you could say was the US, or has been up to this point. I'm not sure. So, okay, yeah. The United States is no longer the sole controlling power in the global system. They probably don't like that very much. Oh, well, actually, no. That's not true. Oh, okay. I have to inject a little bit. Sorry, I am going to inject. The United States is no longer the sole controlling power in the global system. I am going to do a video coming up about how in 1998, register that, they had decided then that they were moving the money from the US outside of the US. Okay? I'm going to do a video on that. So the United States is no longer the sole controlling power in the global system. Remember, the military complex, the tech, and the finance don't care what country it is. They're not tied to one country. So they're just moving chips around wherever they can make the most. Okay? So I think that's very fascinating. So that alone just makes me go, okay, what game are we playing here? This is why I say how you're going to spend your energy, because if you understand it's these 3 systems and has nothing to do with countries, then you'll decide where you're going to put your energy. Is it going to be in your own life, or are you going to keep projecting it out here, right? So into something you don't have any control over, you know. So its economy, the US, has shifted from manufacturing, which is what the US used to be prior to 1950s, into finance and services. Okay. So the finance area of this control power, you know, one of the three grids, power grids, has been about moving the US out of manufacturing into finance and services. This has increased dependence on debt and financial markets, which you can totally see. Most Americans are now in debt, and that was done on purpose. Okay? Money is created through debt and continuously rolled over to keep the system going. So it's debt for us, but not debt for this area of whoever is in power. And it's not necessarily one person, it's a system. It's a system, but there's, you know, a handful of whatever at the top. This has increased, I just think it's fascinating. This has increased dependence on debt. Them getting wealthy is dependent on your debt, okay? And the financial markets, because they can move money. So right now what they're doing in the financial markets is they are showing you a little bit of an increase, these financial powers, showing you a little bit of an increase, so then retail, which would be us, that's what they call in the financial world, we're the retail investors, not the corporations or the investment firms or whatever, that we then believe that the market's going up, we put more money in, and then they take it out. So it just keeps, during times like this especially, okay? So money is created through debt and continuously rolled over to keep the system going. This creates pressure to find new ways to sustain growth and control. War becomes one of the ways money is injected into the system. Military spending feeds into markets and supports asset prices, so commodities. That's why we have these cycles of when commodities are stronger and all of that. So it's just this huge game, basically. It's a huge Ponzi scheme is what it is. So wealth concentrates at the top while debt increases for the general population. And I think this is just really important for each of us to understand. For you, that's why I'm understanding developing our own sovereignty individually, each of us, and then our own little our families and our communities. That's where the golden future is going as well. That's why I think this whole conversation is so interesting. So we can see when we get to the golden future, Diana Cooper, who describes the golden future, channeled from her angels, she talks about all the communities will be sovereign. People will be sovereign. We won't have to rely on this goofy Ponzi scheme anymore that's been playing out for so long, keeping people in poverty, keeping people in debt, but that's what's doing it, which is helping me actually understand why people, I don't really like calling them preppers, but they're just being sovereign. That's what they're doing. They're just creating their own sovereign systems, keeping themselves out of debt, creating their own electricity. That is what the global structure, these three areas, the military complex, finance, and the technology, they don't want us to be sovereign because otherwise they won't continue to make as much money as they do. So that's really the goal going forward, is how do you make yourself more sovereign, getting out of debt, and I know everybody's in a different place and you just have to do it slowly. Bringing resources into your location to create your own whatever, whether it's food, whether it's electricity, just making sure you have some of those extra things, And this is not, we got years. So this is a slow thing going on. We've talked about, I will do one video with just prepping, because I think it would be interesting to ask the lead team, like, what do you think we need to do now? What do you think we need to do in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, so that we know like what's immediate. And I think we've already talked about kind of what's immediate is just have like, 3 to 6 months of just some supplies in case, things, which we talked about with the Ann Tucker series. So, okay. So countries that control resources like oil and energy become central to power. So this whole thing going on right now is all about oil and energy. Control over, well, and money and military and all that and technology. Control over energy flow determines influence in the global system. The Middle East plays a key role because of its energy, resources, and location. Ongoing conflict in that region prevents countries from unifying. Ongoing conflict in that region prevents countries from unifying. So if you think showing up to a protest to protest this particular conflict is going to do anything, because the people who even made the decisions, who look like they made the decisions, aren't the ones who made the decisions. So having signs with, the orange menace, is probably, they don't care that he's not the one making the decisions. Again, where do you direct your energy? Okay. So again, different groups within countries are funded and supported to maintain tensions. We got to talk about that. Again, we're going to ask the questions. I'm almost done here. So let me go back. Ongoing conflict in the region prevents countries from unifying. Just like ongoing conflict inside different countries prevents the people from unifying. It's the exactly same thing. Division allows external control over resources and decision making. The same thing with the 2-party system or the 3-party system or whatever, wherever you're from. Okay. So keep the division is the important part of this. It keeps people from unifying, which is why we're having these conversations. We're not talking about anything that's going to create division anymore. I just want to keep having these conversations. It doesn't mean I'm right, but this is what I'm seeing. And I'm going to be pulling in different things that I'm seeing. And then you can decide how you want to take the information. So different groups within countries are funded and supported to maintain tensions. So we've got these 3, we have finance, the military complex, and technology. They are the ones who fund groups like Hamas, like groups like Hezbollah. I think Hezbollah, is that one? Yeah, the one that's just saying they're getting involved now. What were the groups that Osama was involved in? Yeah, they're the ones who fund them, by the way. So it's when you start hearing this stuff, you're like, what? This is ridiculous. That's just a bunch of ridiculousness, and it's serious. Yeah, stuff is serious. Like people are getting hurt, no doubt. But again, it's about where we direct our energy. We have to understand stuff so we understand where to direct our energy. And what am I showing this? I'm trying to think the self-care message. I think this is going to come out before the self-care message for April. It's coming out on April 1st. So I think this video is going to come out on my birthday, by the way. My birthday is March 30th. Last year I did like a birthday thing. I don't know. I don't know. It just doesn't matter. But my birthday is March 30th. Happy birthday to me. I think this might be coming out on my birthday. I don't know. Anyways, the self-care message for April was literally like, it was called reciprocity, but it was about not giving. It was about receiving right now, meaning take care, like right now, at least for April, is not a time for you to be trying to take care of other people. It's about taking care of yourself and beyond just self-care. I think it's like developing start developing those ways to be more sovereign within yourself and within your family unit and so on and so on. I'm not moving. I mean, it's not like you have to but there's small things that you can be thinking about, and it starts to shift your perception, and it starts to shift timelines for you actually. And I'm starting to understand that too, because I feel like I'm in a timeline shift right now, because for the last couple weeks, every day I feel like I'm not in that exact day. Like right now I feel like it's a Monday and I'm filming this on a Sunday. So Monday's my birthday, but this is a Sunday, 29th, and I literally feel like it's Monday today. And so I keep getting it, and I might understand that that's a part of a timeline shift. So I find that fascinating, because I've been growing so much in my understanding of the world and understanding the sovereignty thing for the first time in my life, that I just feel like I'm like constantly these jumping timeline jumpings, which is kind of interesting. But anyways, that's a whole nother topic. Okay, so remember that different groups within countries are funded and supported to maintain tensions, just to maintain the tensions. I mean, how ridiculous is that? These conflicts. So you think these like groups have been like forming on their own? No. I mean, even in the United States, these groups are not forming on their own. One of these three areas is forming these groups to keep the tensions. So that's why, I mean, even protests, to be honest, I'm just using the protests because we had the No Kings yesterday, which is great. I'm sure it's lovely energy, right? But I'm so different than I was a couple weeks ago that I didn't go. We drove around just to see what it was like. And I watched a bunch of it, but the protest is still division. It's still division. And I know there's many of you are going to say, well, if we don't stand up for democracy, there are different ways to do it. And we're going to just keep exploring that. But I'm keeping it real in terms of where I'm at. And you guys know, if you were here a couple of weeks ago, I was like, there is nothing that's ever going to stop me from going to those protests. And that is how different I am today, because of how I'm understanding this stuff. So it doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm right. Does it mean I'm not going to vote on April 7th? Oh, hell no, I'm still voting. Are you kidding me? Of course I am. So, I mean, yeah, I could say that, but of course I am. I mean, let's not be totally stupid. But what we need to do is make sure that when we're doing protests and having these types of things, that everything that's being communicated has nothing to do with division. If we did that, then I would show up for that. Okay? So not division among parties, no division among religions, no division among whatever. Okay? So that's the kind of stuff I think light workers and what, at least for me, and people who are on this kind of supporting the earth through this different way, that's probably one thing to be thinking about, is showing up to the things that are not creating division. I'm sorry, but No Kings, I get it. Of course I get it. And I would have shown up just because of so many reasons, but it is creating division. Okay? Because people who don't believe in what people are saying on those signs, okay, you know what I mean? So, and this is not, this is not meant to trigger anybody. It's really meant to help us think through some things, okay? And again, totally wrong many times, okay? Or not necessarily wrong, but totally shifting constantly. Anybody else shifting constantly right now? I'm kind of enjoying it, actually, especially because I'm getting way more clear now. So I appreciate that. I hate being in confusion. It's not a good feeling. Okay, a few more facts from Simon. Okay, remember, this all comes from this one person, which I find he's really interesting to listen to. Okay, so different groups from countries are funded and supported to maintain tension. These conflicts are often framed as religious or ideological. Behind that, he claims the real driver is control of resources and money flows. He describes historical examples where opposing sides were funded at the same time. Again, where are you going to put your energy? opposing sides were funded at the same time by the same groups. How ridiculous is that? To think that then you spend your energy having arguments with your loved ones or showing up it's all manipulation for them to control resources and money flows. That's all it is. It's all manipulation of us, because the more divided that we are, the more divided countries are, the more they can do this stuff behind the scenes. So this creates ongoing conflict while benefiting those supplying both sides. Okay? Economic pressures, sanctions, and currency instability are used to influence countries. This can weaken governments and create internal unrest. So yeah, there's some real hurts going on. This is not to say, this conversation is not to say there aren't some real hurts going on. But right now, you are taking care of yourself. Okay? Because if you take care of yourself and you get more clarity, so that means you have less resistance to what's going on, you get more clarity, you take care of yourself, then you'll be able to assist the next person who needs your assistance, who's in your vicinity. If you are not in a country that's in major conflict right now or getting, you know what I mean? Why is your focus over there? Same here. Why is my focus over there? I can only control what's in front of me, but you've got to take care of yourself first. And that's the spiritual part of this. Like, people probably think like this is supposed to be a spiritual channel. Yeah, it never was just a spiritual channel, by the way. It was always about this kind of stuff. I just it's taken me a while to get to this point, you know. But it's really a mix. Anyways, so economic pressure, sanction, and currency instability are used to influence countries. This can weaken governments and create internal unrest. Technology has changed warfare. Lower cost tools like drones can now challenge expensive military systems. And he mentioned that because Iran is dropping $50,000 drones onto the U.S. $1 billion warship. So the U.S. keeps building, because of the military complex, these $1 billion, well, is it the U.S. building it? Under the U.S. name they are. But, so the Iran can go further with this because they've built much cheaper things. Manufacturing power has shifted towards countries like China. Manufacturing power, that's not surprising. Many nations now depend on China for production and materials. So China is literally like manufacturing these materials for every country, This creates a new balance of power globally. Let's see how much we have. Okay. Almost done here, and we'll get to the questions. Countries that were once aligned with the U.S. are now building relationships elsewhere. But it's not because I like you and I don't like you anymore and I like you. It's because of this money and energy flow. Again, they already decided, meaning these three areas, decided in 1998 to start moving the money out of the U.S. And we got to have that conversation. When I heard that, when I first heard her talk about this very knowledgeable person on the inside, I was like, are you kidding me? So, yeah, that wasn't a very helpful thing for me on that day, but it is now. So, financial investment is shifting from government debt into ownership of companies. So remember, they're building relationships elsewhere out of the U.S., all right? So financial investments is shifting from government debt into ownership of companies. I'm not quite sure how to interpret that. This gives external investors influence over major industries. Global investors are now no longer tied to one country, which is not a bad thing going forward. For those in the U.S., my husband and I were talking about this the other day. in our entire lifetime, we have not had the need to be sovereign. Like, we have not had the need to even consider, at least where we've been, us. Doesn't mean our whole generation hasn't, but we have always relied on the systems, always. And when you realize that that is at risk, the system that we're used to, I don't know what the new system is going to be like. And that's what the Ann Tucker series is kind of warning us is going to be shifting, plus the astrology and all that. But it has been literally my entire life, which is why this, that whole subject is very interesting to me now. And now I understand, again, like I said, the preppers, but it's not about prepping. It's just about living independently from all the systems. And then if we would have done that much earlier, when I read the book, Your Money or Your Life, when I was in my 20s, I just couldn't convince my husband to do it. He was too comfortable in the system. Because I felt like we could take care of ourselves, and I didn't have to work for 30 years in an institution, but which was a great career anyways. But so that's why all of this is such a mind shift for me. And that's probably why I'm jumping so many timelines right now, but of my own. Okay. So global investors are no longer tied to one country. Their influence moves wherever returns and control are strongest. Political leaders respond to those funding and supporting their campaigns. So again, political leaders respond to those funding and supporting their campaigns. We already know that 90% we've talked about this, 90% of our Congress people in the US take money from AIPAC. So you'll have to research that, but they respond to those supporting their campaigns. Doesn't matter what we have to say, we the people, unless you've got this, And AIPAC is a pretty strong, powerful group right now. He believes, Simon, large-scale events are used to redirect money and resource flows. 9/11, October 7th. Okay. Remember who funds Hamas? Who funds Hamas? Large-scale events are used to redirect money and resource flows. So if you've spent a lot of time putting your energy into fighting against, resisting the fact that that thing happened on October 7th or 9/11 or whatever, which we all did, spent a lot of time looking at it, then and again, because a lot of people got hurt. So again, there's that whole part of the story, but that's not where we're at right now with this. All these things are done to redirect money and resource flows. So it's not even about just like the country of I and the country of G. It's, narratives, although I think there's some religious stuff going on there too, obviously, but narratives presented to the public often differ from underlying economic motives. Multiple explanations for conflict exist at the same time. Different groups are given different stories depending on their beliefs and their algorithm. Think about that. Different groups are given different stories depending on their beliefs. I think we've all known that in concept, but where do you want to direct your energy? The thing is I've been watching both sides now. And that's why that's why I didn't go to the protest yesterday, because I'm not taking sides now. I will take sides when I vote, because that's what we have to do right now. But, okay, you see what I'm getting at here? Oh my gosh. I'm so glad to get some clarity on this. And again, I could be wrong, but I'm listening to some very expert people who have been studying this for a very long time. So within countries, there are not unified positions. There are different factions with different goals and interests. Some groups benefit from continued conflict, the Republicans. Others benefit from stability and rebuilding, the Democrats. So if you're going to support one, then you ask yourself, do I prefer continued conflict? Because that's the role that group plays in the world. That group supports the military-industrial complex. If you want stability and rebuilding, but status quo, then it's the Democrats. This is not political. This is a fact and a reality. If you want stability and rebuilding, then that's finance. That's the finance area of the three. The finance area, finance wants stability and rebuilding because that's how they make money. The military-industrial complex wants conflict. So they've got these two political parties who are acting in the interest of that particular area. Okay? So, and then you have technology that's helping the divide, just keeping us completely divided is one thing, So then if you're going to vote, which I would really encourage you to do, if you want continued conflict, then go ahead and continue voting for the Republican Party, or at least look into it. But this is how Simon, this is not a political conversation. He's just talking about the way it is. So if you want stability and rebuilding, then, and that doesn't mean the bankers aren't taking all our money anyways, because they've kept us in debt. So there's that whole thing. So the Democrats are doing that, keeping us in debt, because it supports this group that's funding them. So stability and rebuilding. You got it. Right now you got to choose which one you're going to do, So actions taken during conflict can be used to remove certain people from power. Events can be used to identify who aligns with each side. Events are used to identify who aligns with each side. Technology is doing that right now. That's what when people say surveillance state, the digital currency that they want to do, stablecoin, it's going to help continue to identify who aligns with each side. The algorithms already know, because what you're getting in your feed is how you align, because that's what they basically have trained you to do. So that's why I did start listening to Tucker Carlson, because I have never listened to him before, and Candace Owens. I am no longer, because I have different opinions now, which I will talk about in a different video, because I think they're a part of the system. But so are people on the left. So again, stability and rebuilding or continued conflict. Okay. So, but I needed to listen to them for a while to understand the role they were playing and whether or not that was going to be helpful for me. But what's helpful, I think, is for this community, and this is the way I'm going to be facilitating, is for us not to be involved with any side. Although we do have to do, we have to do a little bit of our due diligence in the meantime as we move. But we don't want to spend our energy in division at all. And man, have I been sitting in division for a long time, because I've thought stability and rebuilding while everybody was being kept in debt was a good idea. But right now we only have those two choices, at least in the States. So, okay, let's see. So he believes current events are part of a larger transition. The current events right now are a part of a larger transition in global structure. The outcome would shift control over energy, finance, and influence worldwide. So the outcome of this current conflict is going to show who has control over energy, finance, and influence. Regional stability. And again, We're not talking the United States, we're talking the military complex who doesn't, they're all making money anyways. It's really the finance people is where we're going to put the money. Is it going to, is West, are we going to go over here West and leave the US alone now? Or are we going to, it doesn't have anything to do with the people. It doesn't have anything to do with the people at all. This is why we got to develop our own stuff. Control over key routes like shipping channels becomes critical. Whoever controls these routes influences global trade and energy distribution. Economic disruption, listen to this, economic disruption can benefit certain industries while harming others, of course. So many people some people in certain industries are loving this, that any of us might get disrupted. Rising energy prices benefit producers and shift economic power. So is the goal to keep the energy prices down? Not for some people, right? Global alliances are, so there's just no cooperation. We're talking no cooperation. So we don't need to stay in these silos anymore. The cooperation needs to be among the people. So it's like the people and then these three, situations, these three power structures. Global alliances are shifting based on trade, energy, and financial interests. The system is moving towards multiple centers of influence instead of one dominant power. Understanding this framework is meant to cut through the confusion about current events. At a certain point, knowing how the system operates is enough to understand the direction, he says. Okay, so we're already at 41 minutes. So I'm going to keep going, although most of you stop listening after like 25, my sister says. But I'm going to keep going because we have to ask these questions, obviously. Okay. So I'm going to try to cruise through the questions, even though I said I was going to try to cruise through the intro, but I think that is a very important conversation. Okay, I close my aura to all but my higher self, the God consciousness, my guides and guardians, the lead team collective, and only those of the highest and purest light. And ask Archangel Michael to please protect my channel, your channel, the lead team collective, our community, so it is all of the highest and purest light. Amen. Hey, lead team. How's it going today? Thanks for being here, as always. So we've got questions here about, well, the whole intro that I just went over. They know what it is. Is there anything in this conversation that would be unwise for us to discuss? No. Is this conversation helpful for this community? Yes, and I did ask, one of the questions I asked recently was whether they wanted me, I asked it publicly with you guys, is whether they wanted me to continue talking about current events. And they said, yes, okay. But I think, is it in this context though? This kind of context? Yes, okay. And I'm still going to do, fun, I do want to explore that Jim Carrey situation. Actually, they're saying yes. Okay. But we'll still do like other spiritual topics and stuff. But a lot of the spiritual stuff is taking place, obviously, inside the spirit circles. So, which is the membership. Okay. So lead team, real quick, let's do the challenge, the law of challenge. In the name of Christ, are you of the highest and purest light? Thank you. The answer is yes. In the name of Christ, are you of the highest and purest light? Yes. In the name of Christ, are you of the highest and purest light? Yes. Wide swing on that third yes. Thank you. And can you please confirm that my energy are you reading my energy and my biases when you respond to these questions? No. Okay, really wide swing on the no. Okay. All right. Question number 1. Is the primary conflict going on right now actually between competing power systems rather than countries? Yes. So, well, I could just ask you and then you guys could leave if you wanted, but Is Simon a credible analyst? Yes. Is there anything about what Simon has to say that he gets wrong? Yes. Okay. Is the overall picture wrong of what Simon has to say? No. What about my interpretation of where we put our energy? Am I on track with that right now? Yes. Okay. So is it safe to say that anything is you would you encourage people in this community to look for things to support that create cooperation? Yes, and collaboration. Yes, rather than and put our time and energy rather than in things that create division. Yes, makes sense, right? But is a protest like I'm sensing, no matter which side it is, creating division? Yes. Even voting is creating division, but it is what we have. So we're going to do that, obviously. Yes. Okay. So you can totally disagree. Just do it kindly, please. And the, I mean, just offer different perspectives. That's beautiful. Do financial interests have the ability to influence military decisions at a global level? No. Wow. Okay. So are you saying that the military industrial complex is stronger than the financial interest complex? Yes. Oh, great. Will that be changing in order for us to get to the golden future? It's going to have to. Yes. All right. Are wars used as a mechanism to move money into financial markets? Yes. Is that the only purpose of war? Yes. Does control over energy resources determine global power more than political ideology? Yes. And again, where you put your energy. The political stuff just to keep everybody divided, countries, people, so that we don't really put our energy towards what they're really doing? Yes. It's ridiculous. Are multiple narratives intentionally created to keep the public uncertain? Yes. This is exactly what this channel is about right now. We're not going to stay in uncertainty, you guys. I'm not going to. And if I'm not staying in it, I'm not going to pretend like I'm in it just to feed the algorithm here. So, yes, they're saying yes. Can opposing sides in a conflict be supported by the same underlying financial interests? Yes. Is ongoing instability in certain regions maintained to prevent unified control of resources? Yes. Do economic tools like sanctions function as a way to influence internal political outcomes? Yes. Is Donald Trump actually the one making all of these decisions? No. Is Donald Trump's anybody in his administration making any of these decisions? No. Are any of the political leaders around the world involved and do they really have any say in any of these decisions? No. They are just part of keeping the division. Now, they may think they do. Let's ask, do the political leaders think that they have power and control in making the decisions? Yes. Okay. Because they've been manipulated too. Is that true? Yes. This underlying system, and are these three systems, I mean, they're systems, correct? Yes. So it's not like one person pulling. Is one person in charge of each system? No. Okay. But it is this system that's been functioning for a very long time. Yes. And there are key power players within these systems that know how this works. Yes. All right. Do economic tool, oh, we did that one. Has the shift away from manufacturing weakened the independence of certain economies? Yes. And is that done on purpose? Yes. And so is that why they did that to the United States starting in 1998? Yes, that's why they pulled manufacturing out because they decided they were going to weaken the economy here. Doesn't They don't care about the people. It's not about the people. Yep. Yep. This is why we have to just take care of ourselves. It's getting I'm just getting like this is like I'm not even mad about it. I'm like this is just the most ridiculous thing. Like I'm over the shock and awe at this point just because I've been really looking at this. Okay, is debt-based money creation driving the need for continuous expansion or disruption? Yes. So they put the US, we always talk about the debt ceiling and how can we be in so much debt and now everybody's in debt. They did that on purpose. They're doing that on purpose. And it is going to have to end at some point, but they're doing that on purpose. And they're saying yes. So, do global investors operate independently of national loyalty? Yes. So, these three systems are any of these three systems, tech, in military, industrial, and finance, are they tied to any particular country? No, they're just playing with us. They're just playing with us. Oh my God. But again, this has been going on for eons. But we are here now to shine the light on it, which is what I'm doing right now, apparently, in a way. And I actually feel much more comfortable having this conversation than I do like just digging into the country of I or digging into, you know what I mean? Like, this is like big picture stuff, They probably don't want people to understand this, but do they want people to understand this? No. Am I safe and protected by having this conversation? Yes. Okay, well, that's good. Just making sure, I mean, who am I? It's just allegedly entertainment purposes only. Let's see. I think you guys are getting the gist, right? Has manufacturing concentration, which has basically been in China, created new global dependencies? Well, of course, yes. Is the transition to a multipolar world, that's what Simon calls it, a multipolar world, already underway? Yes. Which, is okay, maybe. I guess we'd have to explore that. Are internal factions within countries more influential than external conflicts? Yes. So let's not be a part of those factions. Don't even hate on those factions anymore because they're literally, those people are just being paid. Just like ICE is just literally being paid. And yeah, I mean, people are just trying to make a living. You know what I mean? And I know you could be like, well, that's an awful way to make a living. And I agree. But they're on their own path right now. But and it's not even ICE. I mean, obviously that one's out in the open. But like there's the American militia or the KKK, like all that kind of stuff. Yep, they're saying yes. It's all funded by one of these groups, or both, both of them, just to keep the division going. Let's see. Can major events be used to remove specific individuals from positions of power? Yes. So obviously Saddam Hussein, that 9/11 was very convenient. Osama, that was very convenient. Is instability sometimes used to justify structural changes in governance? Yes. These apparently are all going to be yes questions. Does control over trade routes like energy, shipping, lanes determine economic leverage? Those are too obvious. Yes. So the final questions is this the fact that the Strait of Hormuz, and actually I heard Trump say the Strait of Trump the other day. I mean, come on. The narcissism is just over the top. And again, I'm not taking sides. It's just over the top, the narcissism. He literally called it the Strait of Trump because he's just, everything should just have the name Trump on it. Yes. They're not agreeing everything should. Do you guys think that Trump should have his name on everything? No? Okay. But is the Strait of Hormuz going to cause, well, it's already going to cause major disruptions to those in the U.S.? Yes. Will we get cut off of all supplies we need? No. So will things just get smaller? Number of things. So if you have favorite stuff, just, go get, a month or two of it, just so that you use it for a month or two and then store that and then just continue to use your normal so that if it runs out for a month or two, you can get it back. I mean, you can wait it out. Okay. Are you saying yes to that? Do you think we should get more than 2 months of supplies? Yes. Do you think we should get more than 6 months of supplies? No. Okay. So we'll go, as we move forward in the world, transitioning, we'll continue to have these conversations about where we are at the time. That's kind of my goal too. Okay. Because I'm, utilizing this to help me transition as well. Okay. I think that's it, you guys. Our current events part of it. Yeah, I think we get it. It's just a matter of what to do. So let me know what you think about this whole conversation. Does this resonate with you? Is this helpful for you? It'll be interesting to see how many people unsubscribe. That's usually where I get a sense. I think it's hard for people to know the point of this community because it's just been shifting with me as I've been shifting, but it's always remained the same. It's always been about trying to understand the world, where we're at from a spiritual perspective, and then, how to deal with it from a spiritual perspective by getting the answers from the real people, the real spirits who have our best interests in mind. So that's really always been the focus, but, and the topics come and go depending on what I'm interested in, basically, or what I hear from you guys. And so anyways, let me know what you think of this. I find this extremely helpful, again, to know where I'm going to put my energy and to know what kind of things I need to align for myself, just to be in peace, and stay in peace and enjoy your life. Because you need to enjoy your life, because this is going to be going on for a long time. So, because this whole power structure thing is coming to an end, but it's going to go on for a while. And it's going to be even crazier because they're not going to like that. They're not going to like that. But the more we have these conversations and the more we stop dividing, that's the thing. Every time we divide among anything, it just keeps them in power. That's all it's doing. It's keeping them in power. So this is the first part, is understanding. So just like in AA, the first thing you have to do is admit you have a problem. So we're admitting we have a problem, but we have to know what the problem is. And I think I'm getting closer to understanding it. I'm not saying I'm 100% right or Simon's 100% right. The lead team said he gets some of the stuff wrong. That's fine. We're just looking for a big picture to know where to put our energy. That's all that matters right now. Okay? All right. I hope this was helpful. Have a good one. Happy birthday to me. 57 today. Woo woo. I think it was. I think this will go. I'll put this out on my birthday. I wanted it to go out the day after I did a previous video though, because I said this was coming out. So, okay. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.